Hello, everybody. Welcome to our official recorded training session for the first of two training sessions. That's about the guidebook and some keys to our specific procedure that we follow in all of our conferences. This training session was put together by my Director of Delegate Affairs, Abdulaziz Al-Bikair, and my Chief of Staff, Tarfa Ibrahim. I'm Sebastian Smith, the Sec Gen, and today joining me, I have Rawan Alanzi and Tarfa Ibrahim helping me do this presentation. Say hi, guys.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Okay, so let's get started. This is basically just going to be a rundown of all the important things that you need to know. A lot of people felt that sometimes, with the time that we have when we present these things, it's a little bit rushed. So we wanted to take the time to record it for you guys so you can come back and refer to it anytime you need for any future conferences. These delegate training sessions have been made up to date for pretty much conferences WMUN 5.0 and beyond. But before we get started, I want to cover a few things like the glossary. So these are the most important things. If you know nothing about an MUN, you just joined and you want to know what the heck is going on, these are the things you need to know. A delegate is an elective representative sent to a conference. That would be you as a delegate if you sign up to join our conferences. If you sign up as a chair, you'll know you're signing up as a chair. A delegate is someone who represents a country, like, for example, the delegate of the United States or the delegate of China. You're just there to represent the country and debate about some resolution on behalf of your country. A resolution is basically a document that contains basically all of the issues that you want to solve and the proposed methods of that solution. It's all theoretical, nothing's confirmed. It's just proposals on how we think you can solve it. The delegate of China, for example, might say, no, I think this is a terrible way to solve the problem because reasons A, B, and C, and that's how the debate would flow. That's what a resolution is. It basically contains proposed methods of solutions. And we already provide a draft resolution for you before the conference starts, and you can add to it during the conference, but we'll get to that later. An amendment is basically when you don't like something in the resolution you're debating and you want to change it. So when we'll show you how to do later when we're talking about operating with Discord and stuff in a different training session, we'll show you how to submit an amendment or a change to the resolution. The operative clauses of the resolution, by the way, is where everything takes place, so you don't need to worry about preambulatory clauses. A chair is basically the person in the conference who helps facilitate the debate. You have a bunch of delegates in a conference and then maybe 2 or 3 chairs maximum, and they kind of just moderate everything. They make sure everything's going smoothly. They move from one delegate talking to another delegate talking, and they might, for example, after debate, they might make sure everyone's moving to voting procedure. They're basically there just to help things work and keep things going in an orderly pace to make sure that you finish the 2 resolutions within the 2-day conference or whatever it may be. And the Secretary General, that's me. He's the head of the Secretariat. He manages the chair and basically all of his staff, like the people joining me in this presentation today. If you don't understand any of these terms or you want further information on it, please see our website or use the glossary on it, okay? This is the most basic stuff you need to know. And if you really know what all of this stuff is and you have it down, you should be absolutely fine. It's just getting the basics, and that's the most important thing. But now I think Tarfa is going to be taking over about what is the guidebook, the thing that's really going to be helping those unsure delegates get more familiar with WMUN.
This is basically, first of all, hello, my name is Tarfa Ibrahim. I'm the Chief of Staff at WMUN, and I'm going to talk about a way of figuring out the basic procedure of MUN. First of all, what is our guidebook? It is 53 pages of detailed information made by us, the Secretariat, that contains specific procedure. It's a guide for new delegates to understand how an MUN session is conducted. So like I said, it's like a basic way of understanding how MUN goes and how the flow of the debate is going to go. It should be your first option in learning basics of debating and understanding your role in MUN. So whether you're a delegate or you want to be a chair, you can visit our guidebook to understand everything. How to use our guidebook. Now, when you visit our website, you'll find a link to the guidebook. If you want to find specific information about a topic, for example, a POI, a point of information, you should follow these steps. First of all, you would go to the content page. That should be the second or the third page. and then find whatever topic you want to know about. So for example, here it's a point of information. So we find a point of information under points. And then either you go to the page or you just click the link and it'll take you right to it.
Sorry, I'm just trying to
if
skip
you,
through.
yeah.
Why are there? Here we go.
If you wanted to find, oh, sorry, no, okay. I thought this was an extra.
Yeah, it's no
slide.
worries. I think we just had some transitions in the slide. So now we're talking about basically some
Yeah.
quick notes that you want to take down. About
Yeah,
that.
okay. So some notes you should keep in mind when visiting your guidebook. Do not be intimidated by its size. It is large because it contains a lot of detailed information, but it's all just basic information. Use the guidebook as your first option, like I said, in finding information. And remember that your chairs in the WMUN are familiar with all this procedure in the guidebook. So if you have any questions, just talk to them. Some parts of the guidebook were relevant to previous versions of WMUN. Typically, we would tell you what versions we're not going to use. So for example, lobbying and merging, you don't have to worry about that. But some of them are very important. Like, for example, the disciplinary measures, the roll call, points, and yielding. For yielding, that is, you can find detailed information on the guidebook, but that is after you finish your speech and you just want to give the floor back to the chair, you want to just go back to being a regular delegate. Should I give an example?
Yeah, please give an example. I can I'll be the delegate, right? I finish my speech and I go, et cetera, and that is why the delegate of China believes that we should not go forward with this resolution. Yeah.
So let's say you're just giving a speech for a resolution, or sorry, against a resolution, and I'm the chair. So I'll just ask you, delegate, please yield your floor back to the chair. Typically, I wouldn't have to ask you if you just did it yourself.
Yeah, but usually it's usually formal. The chair will go, please yield the floor back to the chair, and then me, the delegate of China, will go, so yielded, or the delegate yields the floor back to the chair. Don't say I, no personal pronouns. But yeah, just say the delegate yields the floor back to the chair, and that's it. It's a super silly formality, but it's what you have to do in MUN. That's just how it goes.
I think now Rawan will take the floor.
All right, Rawan's going to be talking about specific procedure.
Yes, I will. First of all, my name is Rawan, and I am the Deputy Secretary General at WMUN. So I'm going to be walking through the basic motions used during the conference session. So as Dr. previously explained the whole guidebook, if you are still a bit confused or want to know more, you can always refer to the guidebook for further support and details. So as you can see, we have a couple of motions here. Let's start off with point of personal privilege. So a point of personal privilege is a request raised by the delegate to the chair. So for example, if the delegate needs to have a restroom break, or if the delegate, or if another delegate wasn't audible to the delegate, if they're having connection issues, if they need to leave for a bit. So it's basically a point raised for personal privilege. Now, a point of information, usually known as POI, it is a request made by the delegate to the chair to ask a follow-up question to the speaker. So as Dr. and Sebastian previously just acted it out, what will happen after the delegate yields the floor back to the chair will be asking the delegate if the delegate is open to any points of information. Now, this just means a question. So if you're a delegate and you want to ask a question regarding another delegate's speech, you would basically raise a POI. Now, it's very, very important. Yeah. So it's very important to remember that your point of information has to be in the form of a question. So you could end it by, is the delegate aware of that? Does the delegate agree? Or if it's a general question about the speech, no matter what, it has to be in the form of a question. Moving on to right to reply. So it's a request by the delegate to respond to an opening speech. Now, what does this mean, right to reply? So it's a special rule that if the delegate's country is mentioned in an offensive way, or they've been insulted, they have the right to reply. So like, for example, one delegate is saying their speech, they're talking, and then they offend another delegation's country. This delegate could say right to reply, and then inform the chairs, all right, my country was offended, this, that, and probably the delegate would have to apologize. So it's a right to reply.
But it has to be a serious offense. Remember, like you can't just say, well, I think the delegate of the United States is lying here. Like you can't just say, okay, write a reply. Like, no, that happens all the time. You would have to say, I think the delegate of the United States is running an underground terrorist operation and it's affecting all of the nations in this conference. I don't know, something that maybe a delegate would say. Then the delegate of the United States can go, oh, excuse me, write a reply, and the chair would usually grant it. You know, it's not something small. It's usually some kind of like extreme threat to national security or like the country's sovereignty. It rarely happens, but it is important to know when you can use it because it can be pretty powerful and make yourself heard in the conference.
Yeah, so basically, as Sebastian just said, a right to reply is like a special rule that is invoked if a delegate feels that his or her national or persona integrity has been insulted in the speech of another delegate. Moving on to a request for a follow-up. Now, this is linked to POIs. So once you ask your question to the delegate, and let's say that the delegate answer did not satisfy you, or you believe that their answer did not answer your question, you can request for a follow-up. So maybe you want to clarify their answer or ask them again. So basically a request for a follow-up is just a chance to ask another question or like follow up on that previous question that you asked. Now, why is it important to request for a follow-up? Because no direct dialogue is allowed between delegates during the committee session. So in order to ask another question after your POI, you must request for a follow-up, okay? And now orders of the day. So this is a request to return to the scheduled issue being debated if the discussion has drifted away. Now, drifting away from the discussion is something normal that can easily happen. And if you feel that you must return to the original topic of the session, you can raise a motion and say orders of the day or motion to move back to the committee session topic if you feel that you're going off topic a bit. Now, a roll call vote. This is a request to vote again by asking each country individually for their vote on the main motion. So for example, when the chair now closes the session for voting procedures, whether it was on an amendment, resolution, a specific motion, this is just a motion to vote again, just to make sure that the counts are correct and to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Lastly, move to reconsider a resolution. So a request to reopen debate on a previously tabled resolution. So first of all, it's called a draft resolution. And then if that draft resolution passes, then it becomes a resolution. Now, if you're unsatisfied or another delegate is unsatisfied, they can simply raise a motion to move to reconsider a resolution and then go back on open debate on that resolution. Now, moving on. Now, regarding the procedure, so the first day of the conference will be spent on debating the first resolution. Now, usually throughout all our conferences, this is just our basic agenda. The first day, we spend our time on debating the first draft resolution. Now, the great thing is with WMUN is that we actually present the draft resolution to delegates before the conference starts. So we start the conference with the draft resolution. You delegates do not need to work on that during the conference. So we would start it off as if you've just finished lobbying and merging, and we're moving on to draft resolutions now. So this will start off by the main submitter of that draft resolution reading the operative clauses of their resolution. Now, in a draft resolution, very briefly, we have preambles and we have operative clauses. Preambles are not required to be read out by the delegates since they are just addressing the main issue, and usually the chairs do give reading time to read those clauses. As for the operative clauses, the main submitter will have to read out all them clauses and just, informing the delegates of the House, this is our resolution, this is what it has, these are our proposed solutions.
Okay, so here are some examples of operative clauses that we'd see, right, Rowan? So basically, the preambulatories, as she said, they're just a formality. You don't debate on them during the conference, and that's it. Like what you want to focus on is the operative clauses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to point out something, so if you guys can notice that the word suggest and calls upon is in italics and bold, this is because you have to start your operative clauses with a specific phrase or word. And I believe that these can be found in our guidebook, if not on our website. If not, you can simply search the web. They're very easy to find, but you must start your operative clauses with specific phrases and words. It's just basic MUN procedure. Now moving on. Now, more onto the procedure, a bit of a follow-up and details of what me and Sebastian just mentioned. So once the main submitter finishes reading the resolution, delegates will be given the opportunity to raise points. Now this is POIs. So once the main submitter read out their resolution, they read out their resolution, other delegates of the House will have the opportunity to ask a question, which is a POI. Now, before you get to raise your POI, the chair must raise that point. So the chair will be, after the floor is yielded, all right, the delegate has opened themselves to POIs. Are there any in the House? Please type in the chat now. So we use Discord. So you would be using a chat, and you would just let the chair know that you would like to raise a point of information by typing in the chat. Once the chair recognizes you, you will be allowed to speak. Now, what happens is a speaker's list will be created because there could be one or more delegates who would like to ask a POI. So let's say the delegate of Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Lebanon, they all raised a POI. So what the chair will say is that the delegate of Jordan, followed by the delegate of Saudi Arabia, followed by the delegate of Lebanon, you have been recognized in that order. So it is up to the chair to choose which order the delegates can speak in when they raise a POI. So pay attention to the speakers list so you know when it's your turn or who you're speaking after, right? And you are only allowed to speak and raise your point once the chair recognizes you. So after the delegate of, in our example here, the delegate of Jordan finished their POI, the chair will then say, the delegate of Saudi Arabia, you have been recognized. So what is this just saying is that you can only speak once the chair allows you to, and you're only allowed to speak in the order of the chair has set, which is called the speakers list. And now for any inactive delegates, the chairs can randomly pick speakers when they feel they need to include some inactive delegates. So the chairs, their job is, to try their best to make every delegate in the House active to ensure maximum debate.
Okay, yeah, so Rowan, would you like to basically just go through a quick role play in the sense, like I could be a delegate and you could be a chair so people can get a sense for how this would actually work?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay, so
let's just assume that you have finished your speech and then you can yield the floor to me.
Yeah, okay, so yada, yada, yada. I finished reading the speech and then I yield the floor to the chair.
All right, thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened themselves to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Please type in the chat now.
To which I, as another delegate, of
China, followed by the delegate.
Yeah, so I would type a POI in the chat and I go POI. Right. Let's say I'm the only person who types.
So, all right. So the delegate of the United States, you have been recognized. Please state your POI.
And then I go, does the delegate of China not think? And then you can just basically ask the delegate a question, and then that's it. It's just a simple question that you ask them, and it's no more than that. And then they say, thank you, and then the person would, respond. And if you feel that, like you said, you're not satisfied with the delegate's answer that you just asked them, you can request for a follow-up, but the chair can deny it, if you're running low on time. But that's basically it. Hopefully, if you've been to one conference before, you'll know basically what we're talking about. You might have seen this play out, or you should have seen it play out. But if you haven't, this is exactly how it's going to be. This will be literally 90% of your conference. It's going to be points of information. That is the most important motion that you need to learn. Okay.
And I highly encourage you first time the delegates to actually watch videos, reach out to people. YouTube pretty much has everything. So if you actually need to see a debate in action, you can always refer to us, to anything. Now, excuse me. Now, just a couple of notes and heads up. Remember, if you're raising a POI, which is a point of information, you can only ask this to the delegate on the floor. So questions, POIs are only allowed, you can only ask a question to a delegate that has previously spoken. So for example, you have the delegate of the United States who has just given their speech, then you have the delegate of India who is not really speaking. You can't really ask a POI to the delegate of India. It can only be to the delegate of the United States. Second of all, generally, the first delegate typing their point or their request to speak will be prioritized for the speakers list. So as previously mentioned, the speakers list is just a list of what order delegates will speak in, which is made by the chair. So for the delegate who types their POI in first, they will have the priority to speak first. And finally, you must yield the floor back to the chair after giving a speech by saying the delegate yields the floor back to the chair. So for whatever speech you give, you must yield the floor back to the chair. And just one side note, for example, when you have a draft resolution, you have main submitters and co-submitters. After a main submitter has read out the whole resolution, they can simply say, I yield the floor to my co-submitter. So it's not necessarily always the chair, but only in the case of draft resolutions, you can yield it to your co-submitter. But after you give a speech or a POI, you must yield it back to the chair. So yielding the floor is basically just saying that, okay, I'm done speaking, and now I'm giving speaking rights back to you.
Okay. I'm just going to take over here so we can just finish the procedure. So basically, one final things that you need to make sure after we've read out all of the operative clauses, which will already be there for you because we've made the resolution. Forget about the preambulatory clauses. They're just there as a formality. The operative clauses, the way that we're suggesting we solve any issue in a specific committee. Let's say you're in Security Council and the issue is, nuclear weapons in among the world, like proliferation, and how do we control it? That's your issue. And then you have a bunch of suggested ways we can solve that problem. You read those out. If you're the main submitter, at least will read that out. And then they will say, okay, are you open to any points of information, main submitter? And the main submitter will go either yes, no, maybe some, they can decide. And then they'll go, okay, are there any such points of information in the House? You'll type POI in your POI Discord chat, which we'll show you how to do in the next training session. And then we'll go, oh, okay, the chair can pick any delegate they want. They think, oh, the delegate of China, you've been recognized. And then they ask the delegate their question. When they're done asking, they don't have to yield the floor because they don't have the floor. The person who has the floor is technically still the person who is answering the POI. Once they're done answering POIs, then they yield the floor back to the chair. If you type a POI and you feel like you haven't gotten much time, the chair should give you the chance to speak. I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to request giving those speeches. You always have the opportunity to request a POI as well. And if the chair is even somewhat fair, you will always get a chance to speak during the conference. I encourage you to do it as much as possible. So yeah, that's basically it. You can basically also request to give speeches. So after let's say a bunch of POIs have been asked and like, okay, let's just move on to open debate. Anyone can debate this resolution anywhere they want. Are there any such delegates wishing to debate this resolution as a whole, for or against? You can then type, I'm willing to debate, or you would raise your placard, or if you were in person, or you would just type it in the chat like or you would like type whatever the chair's told you to type to make them realize that you want to say something. And then if they pick you, you then give a speech, just like a mini speech. You can ramble on if you want, or you can have something prepared, but you can do it multiple times throughout the conference. It's not supposed to be something that's meant to get you nervous. Everyone's in the same position as you. You're just there to talk about something you agree or disagree with. That's it. And that's the end of the first training session. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please join us for part 2. This is part 1 of a 2-part training session series that should be uploaded on YouTube now. So thank you. If you have any questions, please contact us at wmunsocialaffairs@gmail.com or wmundelegateaffairs@gmail.com. And we also have an Instagram as well, which you can search for. So, okay. And thanks, guys. Thanks, Rawan and Tarfa, for helping me present this as well.
No worries. Thank you.
Bye, guys.